More calls tonight for the Pentagon to do something to help thousands of California service members ordered to pay back thousands of dollars in enlistment bonuses. Also tonight, making recycling a reality, the latest San Diego Water Pure project.
I'm Amita Sharma at the San Ysidro Transit Center, where a controversy is brewing over a doorway. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. The pressure is on to work out a solution after it was revealed that thousands of California National Guardsmen have been ordered to repay enlistment bonuses they received during the Iraq and Afghanistan war. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh has the latest.
The story came out over the weekend in the LA Times. This all stems from a 2011 case where a California National Guard official pled guilty to handing out millions of dollars in re-enlistment bonuses to troops who weren't eligible. The federal government is now going after Guardsmen to repay bonuses they received back in 2006 and 2007. Robert Muth oversees the Veterans Legal Clinic at the University of San Diego. He believes these vets should not be left to fight these claims on their own.
Well, I think it's asking simply too much. I mean, these specific individuals were targeted for the potential reenlistment bonuses because they had unique skill sets that would be useful to the United States in fighting wars. That skill set is not necessarily the same skill set that would be helpful in trying to complete a complicated appellate process.
The California Guard has said that only the federal government can waive these repayments. Senators Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer released a joint statement today calling on Secretary of Defense Ash Carter to halt the garnishments. Their statement reads, "It's outrageous to force service members who bravely served in Iraq and Afghanistan to return re-enlistment bonuses a decade later. Some paid a heavy price, including severe injuries sustained during deployment. To now punish these individuals for mistakes and illegal actions of a handful of officials is unconscionable." Congressman Duncan Hunter and Susan Davis are among the members calling on Congress to pass legislation to free the Guardsmen from responsibility. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
The original reports on this story from the Los Angeles Times said some 10,000 National Guardsmen had been ordered to pay back their bonuses. Tonight, the Pentagon says the number is lower, about 6,500. People wait more than 500 days for a Social Security hearing. That's the estimate coming from the federal judges who oversee these cases. The Association of Administrative Law Judges is meeting in San Diego this week. On the agenda is the backlog due to a hiring freeze at the administration, which AALJ leaders say impacts judges' abilities to hear cases.
If you are disabled, if you don't have income coming into your household, how do you eat? How do you pay rent? How do you get medical care? 2 years, almost 2 years or a year and a half, that is an awful long time for somebody who is disabled to wait for someone to adjudicate their case.
The SSA hiring freeze is in place in anticipation of 2017 budget cuts. San Diego City officials are taking steps towards making a massive water recycling project a reality. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The City Council agreed to spend more money on a project that will be both expensive and possibly transformative for San Diego. Backers hope to divert sewage from the Point Loma wastewater treatment plant and use that wastewater to produce 83 million gallons of drinking water a day by 2035. Coastkeeper's Matt O'Malley says it solves two San Diego problems.
We have an outdated and aging wastewater treatment plant. It's literally the last in the country that doesn't meet, modern standards. We also are in the middle of a historic drought, which looks to continue on forever. So if we can solve two problems with one broad stroke, getting rid of some of the discharge that's going out to the ocean of wastewater, which is essentially a waste and unreasonable use of California's water, while providing a local source of water and providing water security for our region, it's a perfect scenario.
The project could cost the city significantly more than $3 billion, and water rates are already going up to cover the early costs. San Diego City Council member David Alvarez says the early investment will pay off.
It'll pay its dividends in the future. We have seen the cost of water continue to increase because we're importing it all and we're getting charged for that water. That has not stopped. It has been on a huge spike going upward, a trend that goes upward.
Federal officials are expected to unveil a draft wastewater discharge permit for the Point Loma sewage plant soon. That's a key part of the far-reaching deal that will allow the city to move forward with its pure water plan. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Californians broke an election record. More people registered online yesterday than any other single day in the history of the state's voter registration website. Secretary of State Alex Padilla says the last 2 days to register, more than 500,000 people did. Young voters, those between 17 and 58, fueled most of the online voter registration activity. The Trump and Clinton campaigns are both reaching out to young voters. Peter Banda of the Associated Press takes a look at a new survey of millennials and who they're supporting for president.
Join us. Weeks before Election Day, the Clinton campaign is out in force in Colorado, enlisting help from Katie Lowe's, who stars in the popular TV show Scandal.
We are meeting millennial voters where they are, right? So not just like on college campuses, but online, at the doors, where they live, where they congregate.
You gonna make America great again? Have a good one. Vote Trump.
The Trump campaign is also trying to reach millennials. Throughout most of this election season, voters, those age 18 to 30, have been skeptical of both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, including college student Athena Landy.
We'll have minuscule change over, a time in which change needs to happen quickly. And I don't believe in either one of them.
But in the closing stretch of the 2016 campaign, a new poll shows young voters coming through for Clinton. The new Gen Forward survey shows she leads by a 3-to-1 margin over Trump among those in that age category who are likely to vote.
Well done!
Political strategist Jill Hanauer isn't surprised.
While they're turned off, millennials are going to turn out higher than they did for President Obama in 2012 because, frankly, they're mad as hell.
The poll shows Clinton's support increasing among whites as well as continued support among African Americans and Latino millennials, a group Gabriel Sanchez of the University of New Mexico has been studying.
We would put their vote, particularly among the Latino subgroup, probably in the ballpark of 65 to 75% support for Hillary Clinton at this point.
Political experts say the shift isn't necessarily because millennials have warmed to Clinton, but view her less poorly than Trump.
I don't think that they should be forced to choose the less of the two evils.
In fact, some plan on protest voting.
I'm voting, but I'm not voting for the candidates that we've been talking about and fighting about and acting like morons about.
Leaving lots of work.
Thank you for voting out.
For both campaigns.
Not even a closet Trump supporter?
Peter Banda, The Associated Press, Denver.
As the battle over the Lilac Hills development enters its final weeks, the money behind the scenes is emerging as a central issue, including a 6-figure donation from a nonprofit that refuses to disclose its source of funds. iNews Source reporter Joe Uriarty follows the money trail.
If you follow the winding curves of Circle R Drive in Valley Center north of Escondido, you'll eventually arrive at Jim Pardee's lemon farm. These 70 acres are adjacent to the proposed Lilac Hills Ranch development. The project is up for a vote, Measure B. Valley Center resident Mark Jackson is no fan.
Measure B doesn't provide affordable housing. It doesn't deliver what it promises.
I spoke with Jackson on Pardee's lemon farm down the road from his house. He's reeling off his complaints over the ballot question that would allow developer Accretive Investments to begin construction of the 1,700-home community known as Lilac Hills Ranch. Pardee has donated $40,000 to No on B through a limited liability company he controls, and Jackson is grateful for the support.
We're terribly underfunded. I thought it was going to be a 100-to-1 campaign. And we're blessed. A lot of donors have stepped up, and we're able to be at the 25, 20-to-1 level.
But those donors have become a point of contention. Accretive has said Pardee's LLC should have filed additional campaign finance reports. Jim Pardee, whose father and uncles founded Pardee Homes before selling the company in the 60s, said he filed all required disclosures.
I was very careful
because of the family and our name, that we were doing everything above board.
Pardee acknowledges owning land in and around Valley Center, some of which he developed for residential use. But he says his biggest objections to Lilac Hills Ranch are as a farmer. Pardee's isn't the only donation to raise eyebrows. In early September, the nonprofit California Local Energy Advancing Renewables, or CLEAR, made a $110,000 donation to well-known environmental nonprofit Save Our Forest and Ranchlands, called SOFAR. SOFAR, which had virtually no assets last year, in turn made a $45,000 donation to No on B. CLEAR was one of 40-some nonprofits associated with San Diego attorney Corey Briggs that an iNewsSource investigation last year found flouted state and federal laws. In particular, CLEAR was unable to account for hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on research, advocacy, and organizing. Valley Center resident Nancy Lane filed a complaint with the FPPC last Wednesday demanding that CLEAR reveal its donors.
I believe if you're going to have an open conversation about something, that you should lay your cards out on the table and you should say why I'm here. And I would venture to guess that there's a reason that it's not being disclosed. And I believe as a citizen we deserve to know.
CLEAR's treasurer, Bill Powers, said the group opposes Lilac Hills Ranch in part over the project's expected increase to greenhouse gas emissions. He says CLEAR doesn't have to say who gave it the money to donate. Wrong answer, says Gavin Baker, Open Government Program Manager at California Common Cause.
There's really no question as to what should be done. If you spend the money, you've got to disclose.
The yes side, entirely funded by Accretive, holds a 28-1 advantage over the no camp. The vote is November 8th. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource reporter Joe Girardi.
Should wealthy Californians continue to pay higher income taxes? Proposition 55 would extend the current requirement for taxpayers earning more than $250,000 to pay more to fund education. KCET's Val Zavala breaks down Prop 55.
Prop 55 in 1 minute. Taxes for education. 4 years ago, a tax on the wealthy was passed to help fund education. It was supposed to be temporary. Now Prop 55 would extend it 12 years. The income tax is on individuals earning $250,000 or more and on couples earning $500,000 or more. If it's extended, it would raise as much as $9 billion annually. The lion's share would go towards K through 12 education and a smaller amount to community colleges. Proponents say the tax revenues would be spent in the classroom, not on administration. Besides, they say our schools are recovering from cutbacks and we're still short 22,000 teachers, and without it, classes will get larger. Opponents say back in 2012, Governor Brown promised the tax would be temporary. Now he and powerful teachers unions are breaking their promise. They say the state has a surplus, so why do we need to extend the tax? Besides, education spending has soared over the past 4 years, and we should be cutting waste, not taxing people. To sum up, a yes vote means the tax continues for 12 more years. A no vote means the tax will end in 2019.
You can learn more about what's on your ballot with the KPBS Voter Guide. It's an interactive website. Just enter your address and you can see all the races you'll be voting on with links to our coverage of the issues. You can find it online at kpbs.org/Voters Guide. Longtime Phoenix area Sheriff Joe Arpaio is in trouble. He has been formally charged with criminal contempt of court for ignoring a judge's order in a racial profiling case. The 84-year-old sheriff faces up to 6 months in jail for refusing to stop immigration patrols that officials found violated the rights of Latinos. The charge comes as Arpaio is seeking a 7th term in office. A San Diego City Council committee will hear the results of a long-awaited report tomorrow that analyzes whether police disproportionately pulled over minority drivers. Councilwoman Marty Emerald asked for the report after previous reviews about racial profiling by officers were inconclusive. Details about the initial findings will be presented at a council committee meeting tomorrow. A fight over a doorway at a key transit point at the U.S.-Mexico border is making travel tougher for hundreds of people each week. The dispute has triggered accusations of racism. KPBS investigative reporter Amita Sharma is live at the station in San Ysidro. Amita?
That's right, Ebony. Look behind me and you will see a scissor gate covering a doorway that's at the center of a legal dispute. The problems here are also raising questions about how a public agency is using its clout, its land, and treating Latinos.
It's not right. They have to be open.
Angelica Maria Flores Diaz is talking about double doors behind the McDonald's trolley station building. San Diego's Metropolitan Transit System has sued to block the doorway. More on that later. But now, Diaz has to walk down a flight of stairs. Head around the building to catch her bus.
I'm disabled and it's very hard to go all the way down and all the way back.
Scores of disabled people like Flores, seniors and children have come to rely on the doorway to go from the bus terminal behind McDonald's to the trolley station in front. According to consultant Steve Padilla, he says that's because it's near an elevator that helps people dodge what can be a lengthy, jagged walk, punctuated by solicitations from people offering cheap rides, depending on the route they take.
Not only did hundreds, if not thousands, of members of the traveling public and the public walking south and across the border to Tijuana use it without any problem, but so did MTS's own staff, including their executives. So did their own security personnel on a daily basis for years.
But MTS sued the McDonald's building owner, Grand Central West, to shut off the doorway permanently. MTS lawyer Karen Landers declined a recorded interview. She says MTS allowed the door to be built more than a decade ago because Grand Central West was constructing an elevator in the back of its building and needed access. Landers says MTS never signed off on a permanent doorway. Grand Central West partner Miguel Aguirre disputes that version. He says the doorway was always part of a community-vetted plan to make his building a hub for traveler-friendly businesses. He says MTS's lawsuit is less about a doorway and more about choking off business in his building because he poses a threat to MTS's business plans.
They have sought to isolate our building.
Aguirre says the isolation started shortly after MTS leased the property around the McDonald's building in late 2012 to a company called SYPS, partly owned by Greyhound. The company was to provide ticket and retail booths as well as make other improvements. Padilla says one of those improvements included building a bathroom at the San Ysidro station.
It looks like it's a place you'd feed the animals in a zoo. I really do believe that because this is in a border community, near the border, who many of these crossers are day by day that use it, the attitude is very different. I don't think they would try to foist this substandard facility in other parts of the county.
Drawings show the facility was supposed to be enclosed, but the company ended up putting the stalls in what looks like a cage, and users have to pay 50 cents to get inside. Padilla calls these restrooms a sign of institutional racism and disregard for the poor.
I think it's disrespectful. I wouldn't want my grandmother in here using the restroom so people could see her pants around her ankles.
MTS calls the bathroom a valuable amenity and built to the same standards as other public restrooms, making it easier for security checks and maintenance. The public transit agency was supposed to receive more than half of the profits from its lease. To date, MTS has received nothing. MTS lawyer Landers blames the zero profit on competition from Grand Central West. She says Grand Central West is renting space to bus carriers that would otherwise be paying rent to its own leaseholder and ultimately MTS. Landers argues that Grand Central West is pushing for the door to remain open because it makes the property more valuable, not out of compassion for elderly or disabled passengers. She says even if seniors and the handicapped have used the entryway in the past, that's no reason for Grand Central West to take the, quote, property right from MTS without permission and compensation.
Now, Grand Central West has countersued MTS and its leaseholder, SYPS. Taxpayers are covering the legal fees for the leaseholder in the case. Reporting from the San Ysidro Transit Center, Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
Thanks, Amitha. A Chula Vista neighborhood is set to be sprayed for mosquitoes carrying the Zika virus. The spraying is set to happen Thursday in an area bordered on the north and south by D and Flower Streets. Midway between 5th Avenue and Broadway, the county health department says someone in the area contracted the Zika virus while traveling. California's DMV offices were having technical difficulties. Officials at the Department of Motor Vehicles say a hardware failure has created a major computer problem in its statewide. San Diego locations in Claremont, Normal Street, San Marcos, and Chula Vista were all affected. Driver's license and vehicle registration services are unavailable at these locations. Officials say the DMV was not hacked or targeted. For more information on when the services will be restored, go to dmv.ca.gov. The federal judge has approved a court settlement of most claims against Volkswagen for the emission cheating scandal. The nearly $15 billion settlement is the largest auto scandal payout in U.S. history. Volkswagen admitted last year that nearly 500,000 cars were programmed to cheat on emissions tests. Under the settlement, owners have until September 2018 to decide whether to have their car fixed or repurchased. Volkswagen could start buying back cars as early as next month. The sun has returned over San Diego today. Shanae Shocker has a look at what we can expect in our forecast.
Well, for your Tuesday, we are beginning to see some unsettled weather across the area as some Pacific storms begin to moisten up that atmosphere across our county in San Diego. Not really seeing too much moisture. However, we will be picking up a couple of showers. So throughout tonight, it will become more cloudy, 63 degrees for your low. And as we take a look at the rest of the county, we will be seeing very similar conditions. Alpine, 52 degrees as we head even further inland and up into the mountains. Mount Laguna, 47 degrees. Borrego Springs, 58. And Mecca, warmer as usually at 62. Chula Vista is at 60 degrees. Now check out the drought monitor. We're continuing to be in an extreme drought, especially from Los Angeles and northward. Luckily, though, moving forward Thursday night into Friday as this drop jet stream, big area of low pressure off the northwest pushes onward. We're going to be picking up some spotty showers. There's going to be a strong system pushing onshore. This can also bring some locally heavy rain and even the potential for some thunderstorms. Now, in Southern California, we'll be seeing mostly just showers, but nonetheless, it is rain. So check out how your 5-day outlook on the coast is going to go. So for tomorrow, 72 degrees. We will have those clouds breaking as the morning wears on. Thursday, 74. Friday, this is where we see those showers around, and we'll still be in the 70s throughout the rest of the week. Inland, once again, Friday is the day that we're going to be seeing the temperature changes or the weather changes. We're going to pick up some showers around the area. Temperatures do drop into the lower 80s, but then come the weekend, we're back in the mid 80s for your Saturday, but Sunday looking very pleasant, 76 degrees for the end of your weekend. Out in the mountains we go, and mostly sunny skies from Wednesday into Thursday. We'll begin to pick up a couple more clouds throughout Thursday, and then that low pressure system moving onshore will be bringing some showers around the area. That drop jet stream also cooling it off for us out here in the mountains. 64 degrees, 62 for your Saturday, and by the end of the weekend we're sitting in the upper 50s. So definitely beginning to cool off out there. Now, last but not least, the deserts. Check it out. We begin in the 90s, warm with some sunshine. As that moisture begins to move in towards the Four Corners and the desert areas, we are going to be dropping into the upper 80s for your highs. Definitely very nice. And by the end of this weekend, back in the mid 80s, and our lows are going to be sitting in the 60s and then dropping into the 50s by the end of your weekend. For KPBS News, I'm Shanae Shocker.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, with just 2 weeks until Election Day, we bring you the latest on the race for the White House. That's Tuesday on the PBS News Hour.
It was a real eye-opener for some San Diego students as they looked at how to budget a household for the first time. The program is a partnership between San Diego Unified and Junior Achievement, where students participate in lifelike scenarios. They picked a job, applied for a home loan, and paid bills. 15-year-old Alize Reyes chose nursing assistant as her job, and she found she had trouble paying the bills.
There's another student that's also here. He made over $136,000 a year, and he was getting like this lavish thing, and I was like barely surviving.
Reyes has some advice for students who may not be interested in personal finance.
Be interested because you have to learn it somehow, or else you're gonna go out in life and you're not gonna know what you're doing when you have to pay taxes and pay your electricity bill and your gas bill. Like, you have to be able to know how to do it, or else you're just going to fall behind and be in debt.
All 7,000 10th graders in the district will be able to participate in the program. Now, here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, a proposition to legalize recreational marijuana is on November's ballot. We explain who will regulate it if passed. And on Midday Edition, 2 small business owners want to represent District 3 in Chula Vista. We talk to both candidates about the issues they'd work on if elected. That's tomorrow on KPBS Radio. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.